Hello, today we're going to be going over our Platinum Salem FSX. It's a model number 260 RTX. We're going to be starting right up front here, basically with our tongue jack. Basically, you got the one here. The one switch here is going to be for your light, so if you had to hook up at night, you can kind of see. The other one so that you're able to raise and lower. This is how we're going to level the camper from front to back. This is also how we get on and off the tow vehicle. I always do like to recommend, while you're still hooked to the tow vehicle, to make sure you're level from side to side first. Generally, put a carpenter's level right inside the doorway. They do have little levels that you can buy and stick on your camper. But basically, use your tow vehicle to roll on the blocks if you needed to. Once you're good from side to side, that's when you unhook from the tow vehicle, pull it forward, and you'll level front to back. And once you're good from side to side and front to back, that's when you're going to lower your stabilizer jacks. These guys are located on each corner of the camper. There is a manual crank inside. We do recommend a 3/4 socket. Makes it a lot easier. Let me just double check. Some of them have been swapping out to that socket actually. Nope, it is the manual crank. A lot of them has been swapping to the socket naturally. There is a guy right here where if you needed to, you can manually crank the tongue jack if something happened to it. The motor. Behind that's going to be where our propane tanks are located. You have two 20-pound tanks. Right now, these guys have both been filled, minus what was used to test the propane system with. As you see right now, this is showing us that it is green, that we have propane flow, because this guy is on. I do like to recommend having one tank on at a time, so that way you know when one of the canisters is empty. This is designed to where both tanks can be open. Once the one tank has been emptied, it will automatically start pulling from the other tank. You just won't know this tank is empty unless you come out here and look at this, and this will be red, not green. Then all you're going to do is just flip it to the other side. There's a little notch on this guy here to show you what tank you're using. The back behind there is where our battery is located. It is a 24 series deep cycle marine RV style battery, pretty standard. The box is larger due because of how they have the frame built for the battery box. So technically you can put a larger battery in there if you wanted to. And then back behind that is where our battery disconnect is located. With the battery disconnect, you always want to make sure that is in the on position when you're hooked to power, when you're pulling it, anything along those lines. Basically, the only time you're going to turn this key and pull it out is when you're storing the camper. The reason for that is because it disconnects the camper from the battery, so your LP detector wouldn't cause your battery to drain dead, or if you left some lights on or something along that nature. But when you're plugged into Sure Power or a tow vehicle, you leave that in the on position so that way that they are charging that battery for you. Alright, as we come alongside, you're going to have your pass-through front storage compartment. Basically on the other side is that manual crank I was talking about. And then this guy here is going to go right back here in this area. We're just going to carry him along with me for just a second. Basically, right here is going to be where our sewer dump is located. You're going to have your sewer hose that will connect to here. You got your clear elbow end that goes into the sewer area. And then you're going to always start with the black. Right now, the black is in the open position, so I am going to go ahead and close it. When you hook up, you'll pull this guy to start dumping the black tank. That is just the toilet. Your gray handle is for the bathroom sink and shower and the kitchen sink. You got a cap here to keep it covered when you're traveling. While you have your black open and dumping, you're going to have this guy located right here. This is a black tank flush. This guy is basically a sprayer inside the black tank, sprays around and gets all the nastiness out. I always do like to recommend go get yourself a black hose, black tank, black hose. It keeps it simple. I'll talk a little bit more about the water system in just a minute. We got some activity going on here. But also make sure you use a pressure regulator on this guy at the water spigot. The reason why is because there is a plastic check valve on the back side of this. Too strong a water pressure can damage that check valve. But basically you're going to hook up your hose, start flushing. You'll have a clear elbow that goes into the sewer area. You'll be able to see when that water is coming out clean and clear. Then you're going to shut the water off, unhook it from the hose, spigot, and then unhook it from here. There's always going to be some water in the back side of this from the hose from that to that check valve. It's a one-way check valve. There's no pressure to push that water through, so it's got to come out somehow. We're going to dip back down here towards the bottom. Down here, you're going to have your sewer hose holder, and then you got your low point drains. They're located right here. You got a red for hot, blue for cold. Basically, these guys, whenever you're done camping, I always like to say, take these caps off, open a faucet inside as you drive home. That air is going to blow through the lines, push any excess water out for you, so you wouldn't have any potential water that's left in the lines that becomes stagnant or bad. But mainly, you also use those when you go to winterize. Then right here is going to be our outside shower. Basically, your options of hot and cold water. I'll show you what the sprayer handle looks like inside. It's going to be the same as the one inside in your shower. Here you have a notice sticker for the lug nuts. Basically, this is just a reminder for you to check the lug nuts. I have them torqued to 100 foot-pounds, and this is to be done at 50, 100, and 200 miles. I do always like to recommend when you leave the campground, first place we usually stop is the gas station to refuel to head home. While you're refueling, you can check these lug nuts. You're knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone, okay? And then you always do want to keep the tires maxed off to the top PSI level. These guys were 65 PSI. Let me double check that. I was just on us. Yeah, 65 PSI. I was just on another trailer, sorry. That number was in my head. All right, so here's going to be our city water hookup. With this guy, you're going to have a pressure regulator at the water spigot. From there, your options of an inline water filter, and then your blue or white water drinking hose. And then you'll plug it up to here. You'll be able to use the cold side right away. You do have to wait for the water heater to fill before the water is available on the hot side. Of course, you do have to turn on the hot water to get it, or the hot water heater to get that water hot for you. It's not just automatically going to be hot. This guy here is going to be our fresh water tank. Pretty much it is gravity fed, so you stick the hose in and let it fill. Read the monitor panel inside for when it reads full, so you know to shut it off. Basically, overfilling it can cause damage to both the outside of the coach and inside where it's connected. The drain for him is actually going to be located, I believe it was right behind this tire. Yeah, that's right. I believe it was right over here. They put it in a nice, lovely spot right there. Here's your cap to drain the water, fresh water tank. Like I said, it's easier to kind of go right through this area right here to access it a lot easier, unless you got long arms. My arms are not as long, so I have to go in between there to try to get to it. And then this guy here is going to hook up to this guy right here. It's just a nice little quick connect and a sprayer. Spray down to dogs, kids. If you've got mud or sand on you, you can spray that off. Spray down to Mrs. because she doesn't want to listen to you. Things along that nature. All right, then we're going to backtrack for 2 seconds here. Basically, we're going to show you the furnace. With this guy, basically, this is your intake and outtake. You don't want to try to hang anything in front of this because it does need to be able to properly breathe. We do like to recommend getting mud dauber screens to put over these guys. It helps keep the moss out. Mud daubers should build the nest, things along that nature, because that can cause problems over time. This guy up here is going to be your vent for the stove. This guy in here opens up. And then there's 2 little slits here that it would slide into to keep it closed during travel. Then we got the water heater here. This guy is gas only. That is controlled from the inside. I will show you how to operate that once we step inside. One thing to note though is, once again, we were talking about you want to make sure you get all the water out of the camper. Well, when you go to do that for the water heater, what you want to do is you want to open this guy to relieve the pressure. And then you're going to take this guy out down here. This is your anno rod. This is a 1 1/16 socket. And this guy is about yay long, and it starts out the size of a dime and will work itself down to the size of a coat hanger. Basically what this is doing is it's attracting the impurities in the water, so it attacks that rod and not the tank. So you'll be able to inspect that rod because you're going to be emptying this to get all that water out of the water here as well. Next, we have the 30-amp power cord. It does come with the coach. I do have it on adapter on the back side because all our pedestals are 50 amp. So you're going to see this guy here, and you'll see one on the other side. This is basically going to be open these guys up for venting for your tools. So that way those gas fumes don't accumulate inside the coach. Then this here is going to be where your campground cable would hook up to. I will show you how to mess with that inside, because you do have to turn off your TV antenna booster to get that to go. All right, so next we're going to have our ramp area here. Basically, you would twist it this way, and you do have to make sure you twist these correctly. If you don't twist it the right way, if it gets twisted, the other way, it'll have issues trying to secure and lock close. And I'll show you the reason for that here in just a second. Make sure my cable, you always have to watch out here. Cable will get stuck on those locks. But basically where you have these lock positions at here, they come right in here, right in between this guy here. So if they're not in the right position, you go to try to lock it, it keeps getting caught on the door guy here and it won't allow you to do so. Drop this down for the ramp, you would just lift this guy up, pull these clips here on each side, and the whole thing will go down so you can use the ramp. You step up. These guys here will basically come out, they lock into place. There's a Velcro strap up here to keep these guys from swinging all over the place. But then this guy here slides in there. Then you'll do the same to the other side. Locks into place. Release the Velcro. Guy will lock in. This here is actually a handle. You pull your pin so you can drop this across this door. And then you can actually put this pin back in. I don't know if you can see me through the screen, but you should be able to put that pin back in so nobody can potentially lift this up. Don't get me wrong, if they really want to get in here, they can climb over easily enough, honestly. Then basically, you're just going to do everything in reverse to unhook. There's little latches down here. You push down to release. I will say, depending on your size, sometimes your weight being on this ramp will cause issues with these guys just getting locked. If that is the case, you can always be on the ground and use your finger to push them down to get it to unlock. But there is an order, so you're generally going to do the off door side first. That Velcro, in case you guys don't see that, actually goes in between this fabric. So you'll push this fabric out a little bit to bring it around this railing to help secure it, just like so. And then these guys will just fold right on up. Myself on that. I sometimes get them confused in my head. And from there, you basically push your ramp back up. As you see, it's not too super complicated. I'm doing this by myself, so it's not too super heavy as well. The only thing you do have to watch out for is just make sure that your cables ain't in the way, but then they'll twist. Push down the lock. Twist, push the lock. And your keys for that is going to be this gray key here. Okay, so you're able to lock this, just like so. Then you're unable to pull this handle open, which we're going to go ahead and do so now. Go ahead and lock those so we don't forget potentially later when you come to pick up the camper. So your other key that's going to be on this guy here is a 751. This is basically going to be for your front compartment doors. Now, purple key here, I'll show you that guy here in just a minute. That's going to be for our entry door. We got our outside speakers on, so you're able to hear these guys operate. Here, you're able to hook the TV up outside. And then they supply a 110 plug for you for that. This is GFCI receptacle, so if it does get wet, it will strip the GFCI inside. What's your steps here? You do always have to make sure that this door is all the way open when you go to bring the steps down or to put them up. The reason why is because if it's not set right or the door in the right position, it can hit the screen door and actually cause damage to the screen door. I got to stand here because we got quite a gusty breeze today and I don't want it to try to fling back on me. But basically with these guys here, they just flip right in and they lock, just like so. These guys here are going to be so that you can adjust the feet depending on your location. But then when you're going to bring them out, you're just going to push this guy here to release. And these guys will come down. Like I said, you can adjust that foot. The nice thing is that you can just pull it out to adjust it. So normally I'll have these guys probably all the way in. I'm going to go ahead and just create this issue here. We'll bring it down. Well, as you see, our one foot's not there, so we're going to have to just easily just lock it. Might be able to go one more. All right, just like so. All right, when we do this, though, what we're looking for, though, is we do want to try to keep this as flat with this threshold as possible. Too much of an elevation can actually cause... Turn it off so you can hear me a little better. But too much of an elevation on this can cause issues to both the entry door and screen door if you are not careful. All right, I guess we step inside. There's that wind knocking me around. I told you those wind gusts today are something else. And with those wind gusts, we are not showing you your awning today. I will show you how to operate it, but we are not opening it.
That's a very smart idea.
Basically, you're going to have your fire extinguisher right at the entry door. And then basically right here when you walk in, we got our control panel. With the control panel, they'll show you the status of the battery. The fresh tank, as you see, I still got a little bit of water in there. But then our black has been emptied and our gray has been emptied. You got the water pump. You're only using the water pump if you're using the fresh water tank. If you're hooked to city water, you do not need this guy. And then this is going to be for the gas option of the water heater. When you go to turn this on, this DSI fault light will come on. This guy will remain on until it has fired on propane. Once it's fired on propane, that light will shut off. It'll try to catch 3 times. After the 3rd time, if it does not fire, that light will just stay on. Then you got your 2 light switches here. One was for the outside lights. It's going to be your awning lights. And then your other one here just turns on this light above our head. The other ones that are actually on right now, you have to turn on manually. And then this here is going to bring our awning in and out. Up will extend it, and down will bring it back in. Okay, on your awning, and you'll see the sticker for it. It tells you you can pull down to adjust the pitch. So you can create a pitch on your awning. And it's meant to be as a shade protectant. Anytime like strong gust of winds like we're having today, or if it's going to rain or storm, anything like that. Generally, they just like to say, if you're going to leave your campsite, go ahead and bring your awning in for safe, because too strong as a gust of wind can cause damage to both the awning and the camper if you're not careful. Then next we had the radio. I turned them off so you guys could hear me. They'll tell you welcome when you turn them on. So we had our outside speakers on. That was going to be on zone 1. Zone 2 is going to be our inside speakers. Change your stations here. You can pre-program stations just by pressing and holding. And as you see now it says a 1. So if I change the channel, I can change it back to a good station. Next you have a couple different modes. There's an HDMI hookup, USB hookup, and adjust your volumes. The manual for this should be in your owner's packet. We'll press and turn them off. Then down below that is going to be where our fireplace is located. Basically, you got your power to turn it on. And then it has the options of low or high or off. That's going to be on the far end right here where you got your little temperature thermostat thing. So right now it's in high. I just basically turn it off so I have just this ambiance look. And then there's low. This here, you can change the flames and the colors. And then your other one here is a timer from 30 minutes to, I believe this was 9 hours. Oh, nope, this one's only 5. Where it would just shut off on its own. And you do also have a remote for that right here. All right, we've got your TVs installed. Basically, you're going to turn this guy on. We've already did a channel search for you and picked up, I believe this guy picked up 36 or 43 channels. I couldn't quite remember. But basically, as you see there, it's already there. So if you guys are looking to get to a new area where you ain't close to St. Louis, you got to rescan for channels. Pretty much just go to your home, go to the home area, push over to the TV, But then you're going to push your little star icon here to pull up options. And from there, you can scan for channels and make that really nice and easy. I did not test the... I did not get this hooked up to internet and tested. So once you guys do hook this up to the internet, it will... the TV will do an automatic update. Just so you are aware. All right, so I'll turn that guy off. It's getting toasty. So here's going to be our thermostat here. Basically with this guy, usually it's just a whole lot of button pushing, and it's going to be this little spacebar looking guy here. When you first turn it on, it's going to light up the panel. Then you're going to have fan low, fan high. That's just going to be the fan that comes on the air conditioner. After that, you got cool high and cool low. In these two settings here, the air conditioner will just continuously run. It does not matter what the thermostat is set to. Then after that, you'll have cool low auto, cool high auto, where it would shut off to the desired temperature. And then your last option is going to be heat. As you see, you got your arrow keys here, so you can adjust the temperature for that. And then off. All right, so then as we kind of cruise into the bathroom area, basically you're going to have your sink and your sink over here, medicine cabinet up top. Inside here is where our shower is located. As you see that shower head, it's got a little button on it. That's going to be the same one that's out there on your outside shower as well. But basically what that button is for is so that you can reduce the flow of water. It sometimes usually doesn't stop the water all the way, but it reduces that flow of water so that you can try to get the most out of your hot water heater. Your water heater is only 6 gallons. The average American uses 38 gallons of just hot water when they take a shower. You're just already outmatched. But basically during travel, you do want to make sure this is closed and this guy here is on there. Then we got our toilet over here in this back corner. And basically with the toilet, you would lightly press on our pedestal here, get a little water, and then it will stop. It is always usually going to leave water on that so that seal doesn't get dry rotted or brittle. But also, if you want to try to put, if you wanted to, spray non-stick cook spray on the bowl of that toilet. Helps everything slide down and makes it easier clean as well. You do also have to use cleaning chemicals for your toilet. They have pouches or liquid. If you do use the pouches, I always recommend putting water in the bowl of the toilet first, and then make sure you see that dissolve or that pack dissolve. I have seen some where they didn't dissolve. All right, then as we step into the bedroom area here, basically each side is going to have a closet. Hey, there's my water arrows listed yesterday. Look at that. You got your closets on each side. You got storage up above. You have each individual night reader lights. There is a sticker here. We do try to say not to remove this sticker in case you ever decide you want to upgrade the solar panels. This actually tells us where the wiring's for it and the cutout for the controller. But then each side has 110 and USB hookups as well. And then we have our fire exit window right there is located also. So in case of an emergency, you flip this guy will fling open. This is on a hinge, so the whole window will fling out so you can get out. This here, so they recommend that you try to pull the tab to pull the screen out. I always look at it if there's a fire, try to get out as quickly as possible. And then I do have your other TV mounted in here. So with the style TV mount you guys got, sorry, had a complete brain fart there. This is slid all the way over, but with this design, so once you guys kind of get in bed so it's not in your way, you are able to slide that over a little more so you can kind of get a little better picture from the TV area. But please note, as you see me just pushing this like this, when you go to churn, this thing's liable to do the same thing and slide. So I probably would like to recommend maybe getting a TV strap where you can put the one on this side, one on the other side to kind of help strap it and secure it during travel. And I would recommend the same for the living room TV as well, but there isn't as much room for it to slide and glide around there.
And the antenna booster for both of those TVs is up here.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our TV got me hidden. Basically, this booster here, you got to turn this button off right here. for that cable signal to come through. As you see, there's a little green light that just disappeared on us. Push it to turn it back on. But you turn that off for that cable, campground cable feed to come through the lines. It's always good to have a second head here. Helps everyone out. See, good thing I found my water. I'm feeling parched. All right. Basically, we got our fridge area next here. You can control the temp of the freezer up here. Like to usually just keep that guy right in the middle. That's a pretty good setting. If you turn it all the way to colder, it will actually start freezing your fridge area. And then inside the fridge area here, basically you got your temperature controls. I always like to set it on 4 and 5 to get it good and cold. And then once it's good and cold, you just push that set button and you're able to change the numbers, and usually 3 is pretty adequate. Obviously, once it starts getting warmer outside, you may have to adjust that to do its job properly. But when you go to turn it off, it even tells you here in parentheses to hold the set button for 10 seconds, and it will basically turn this off. So this is a 12-volt style fridge. One thing that you have to note is if this is left on, it will drain your battery, okay? I've even noticed that these guys, even with campers that have solar panels, if this guy is trying to do a maximum output, it will also drain the batteries. The solar panels can't keep up with it. So just please be mindful of that. Next, we're going to have our hood range. Basically, you got your light and your fan. Give him a second. He takes a minute to actually get going.
I do too.
Always like that first thing in the morning. As you hear him going, you do always want to make sure you got that fan on. So, one thing that you do have to note with these guys. So if I try to turn this, it ain't going to do anything right now. You do have to turn this button on for the spark igniter. But that's something else that you also have to note, okay? So just because that switch is on, that is just for the spark igniter. If someone was to come and turn this knob, you're just releasing propane into the air. So you do always have to keep an eye on these knobs. You can have a knucklehead friend leaning on them. They slide sideways, can turn the knobs on you potentially. So please be mindful of that. We'll talk about that here in just a minute with our next device down below. Next is going to be the microwave. Pretty self-explanatory. Is this one also the... Try to double check here. Okay. Oh, wait.
Yep, it's convection.
It is the convection style. So up here, I believe there is a tray for the microwave. And then you got your microwave part as well. Your instructions are going to be in the owner's manual. I do like to say set the timer on this. If you guys go out, you come back, you see the time ain't set, that means there was a power failure at the campsite. We do want to look in to see if that was from the campground or from the electric company, okay? All right, next down below is this. As you see, I got this drawer taken out here, and it does also have another sticker on here. It tells you it's the antifreeze inlet. Basically, that's this hose guy right here. So you would take this cap off, you would stick this in your gallon jugs of antifreeze, and you're going to churn this guy right here so that the water pump will pull from this hose and not the fresh water tank. And then you'll winterize your coach through there. But here's one thing to note. I always say when you're turning one knob to winterize, you're turning all knobs. So you're going to turn this knob. Then you're also going to go ahead and turn these guys right here on the back of your water heater. Just like so. Basically what it's doing is the antifreeze will come in through your cold line, and then it's going to wrap around this hose here to winterize your hot line. And it's not allowing antifreeze into the water heater. Right now I am going to go ahead and turn these back to the unbypassed position because it is basically spring and summertime. We are going to be using our coach. But that is the basic general rundown of how to winterize the coach. Once you got your antifreeze hooked up, make sure all the water's out because you'll use less antifreeze doing so. Once again, those low points kind of come into play. Then down here is where our LP/carbon monoxide detector is located, okay? There's a button right here that you would test. It even tells you test or mute because sometimes this guy can start going off randomly for different reasons. One, it could be potentially sensing propane. 2, it can be sensing cleaning chemicals. 3, it could be sensing dog gases or animal gases. I have heard the story happen. It has happened. But basically, you're just going to press this button, and we're testing the system. And as you see, it just went back to green. Okay? It is recommended you test this every 9 to 14 days. If this guy does start going off, like I said, there's those options that it can be going off, but we do still want to take emergency cautions just to make sure there isn't no propane leak. And basically what you're going to do, first person outside this coach is going to go turn off the propane canisters. The next person out is trying to get everybody else out, including the fish in the fishbowl, Steve. We're trying to get everything out, and we're trying to open a couple windows. No vents. We're not trying to create a spark. So don't be trying to turn on the vent fan or this exhaust fan. Don't be trying to go in the bathroom, turning on the fan. We're not trying to do that. We're not trying to create spark. Okay? But basically, then you're going to get 50 feet away for 15 minutes. One person's going to come back inside, and the first place they like to look is here at the stove. Like I said, we want to make sure these knobs didn't get accidentally churned or anything like that. If we see that these guys are not on, we're like, okay, everything seems all right. Well, we turn the propane back on, it starts going off again. It is potentially sensing propane in your camper, and you would want to have that serviced and looked at. The two main places that propane actually does come inside your coach is going to be the stove and the furnace. Those are the only two places where your connections are inside the coach. All your other connections for like the water heater is outside. Then you get to have this fun here. Did you go in there? Nope, not quite. So as you see, this can always be the fun part. We're trying to get these guys to re-secure back in here properly. There we go. Double check. No. They can be temperamental. There is a cover that goes over this as well. It did have some borders that wasn't secured to it, so I went ahead and tried to secure those borders so that there isn't so bunch of pieces laying around. And then that's what these screws are here for. Then you got storage underneath your kitchen sink area. Well, I'm also still down here. Basically, we got our fuse control panel box. Basically, with this, anything that runs off the Sure Power or needs Sure Power to work is going to be on the breakers, and they have everything labeled right here for you, which is nice. And then anything that runs off the battery is going to be on the fuses, and they also have everything right here labeled also. So this 40 amp is labeled as battery protect. What that is designed for is so that is basically the fuse for your converter, but that's designed to, if you accidentally hooked your battery up backwards, it blows that fuse so it doesn't damage the converter. Okay? Nice thing also is that this has what they call an auto detect. So if you decided to upgrade the battery to an AGM or a lithium, that converter's already going to know and can properly charge the battery that it needs to, so it can charge. All right, then up top here, there's a little sticker right here. You can scan this guy with your QR code. Basically what it is it'll take you to their website, put in the information, and it'll give you a PDF file for your camper. Basically, most of the other appliances in the coach are going to be, or the manuals are going to be in here. If you do not find a manual in here for something in the coach, there's a good possibility that that company may have went paperless, and you would have to probably look it up online by going to either Google or usually Google's really good to try to find the manuals. But if you had trouble trying to operate something, YouTube can be very helpful as well. This is where our GFCI is located right here. So if you see that some of the outlets ain't working, they have the GFCI sticker. Come and see if this guy hasn't been tripped. This up here is actually an additional little screen area for your back ramp area. Okay, now the fun part. So we have our table here. Basically, your table does need to be down it has to be down and sitting on these lips right here, or these rails, during travel. You see there is Velcro there. There's Velcro, should be Velcro on the bottom of those guys, I believe, or was it? No, that's right. I remember yesterday that I noticed they were torn off. But basically, you can remove this guy here. And this is going to be the same for both sides. But then you're able to lift. And as you see, they provide storage underneath. There should be, yep, right there. You got this guy right here. And it goes down to secure this up. And then these guys here, you just push that pin to fold the legs in. You'll do that on both sides. Of course, once you move the storage tote, you do that on both sides. You're going to have a little more storage. But of course, then you lose your storing space for the table. Got 110 hookup and another GFCI outlet on both sides, and then they do provide you a nice little bottle opener on this side. So this guy also can fold down into an additional bed as well by putting the table on this guy here. Then you would slide the cushion over, and then this will kind of lay down on the back side to create the bed. I ain't gonna lie to you, when I found it before, it's a little cattywampus looking bed. Alright, and then from there we have basically made our way back around to the door. If you guys do have any kind of questions, please feel free to call us and we do our best to answer those questions for you over the phone. Other than that, thank you and have a wonderful day.